One day, Rancher rode into the dusty town of Silver Creek. The sun was setting low, painting the sky in shades of crimson and gold. He had been on the trail for a week, pushing cattle across endless plains. His throat was dry, his boots worn, and all he wanted was a warm meal, a clean bed, and a night of peace. He tied his horse outside the Silver Star Hotel, the only grand building in town, its lanterns glowing in the twilight. As he stepped inside, the atmosphere shifted. The clinking of glasses, the shuffle of gamblers' cards, and the soft tune of a piano filled the air. Rancher tipped his hat to the innkeeper and found a seat near the window. A young waitress set down a steaming bowl of stew and a cup of black coffee. He muttered a tired thank you and leaned back, finally feeling the weight of the trail fall from his shoulders. But as he lifted his spoon, he noticed a pair of eyes watching him. In the far corner sat a man dressed in black, his face shadowed under a wide hat. He hadn't touched his drink, hadn't spoken a word, just stared. Rancher's instincts, honed by years on the range, told him something wasn't right. The whispers in the room confirmed it. Travelers leaned toward each other, speaking the outlaw's name in hushed tones. He was a land shark, a man who'd been intimidating ranchers and forcing them to sign over deeds. Several families had lost their homes to him already. Now it seemed Rancho was next. The outlaw finally stood, boots striking the wooden floor like thunder. He walked straight to Rancher's table, the hotel growing silent around him. "You own the North Ridge, don't you?" The man growled, his voice dripping with menace. Rancher didn't flinch. "I do, and I plan on keeping it." The outlaw smirked and placed a folded piece of paper on the table, a deed transfer. "Sign it, or you'll never leave this hotel alive." The tension was thick enough to choke on. The piano player froze mid-song, waitresses ducked behind the counter. Even the sheriff, seated in the back, hesitated, knowing how deadly this outlaw could be. Rancher slowly set down his spoon and pushed the paper back. "You'll have to take it from me." The outlaw's grin turned cold. In a blink, his hand dropped toward his holster, but Rancho was faster. He flipped the heavy oak table just as the outlaw fired, the bullet splintering wood inches from his chest. Chaos erupted. Patrons screamed and scrambled for cover. Glass shattered, lanterns swung, and the Wanscombe Hotel turned into a storm of gunfire and smoke. Rancher rolled across the floor, his revolver flashing in the haze. He returned fire with sharp precision, each shot forcing the outlaw backward toward the bar. The outlaw fired wildly, bullets tearing through paintings, smashing bottles, and raining whiskey across the counter. The hotel filled with choking dust and the acrid smell of gunpowder. Every shot echoed like thunder. The outlaw laughed through the smoke. "You're a good rancher, but you're alone." Just then, two more of the outlaw's men burst in through the hotel doors, guns blazing. The crowd gasped, ducking under tables. Rancher found himself outnumbered, 3 against 1. He dove behind the piano as bullets chewed through the wood. The piano player fled, tripping over his stool. Rancher's eyes darted around, then landed on the massive chandelier hanging from the ceiling. With a sharp shot, Rancher blasted the chain loose. The chandelier crashed down, pinning one outlaw beneath its iron frame. The second rushed forward, but Rancher spun, striking him with the butt of his revolver, sending him sprawling into broken glass. Only the black-coated leader remained. The two men circled each other in the smoky haze, boots grinding on shattered wood. The outlaw sneered, raising his revolver. "You should have just signed the paper." Rancher's jaw tightened. His hand moved like lightning. A single gunshot cracked through the silence, and the outlaw's revolver flew from his grip, clattering across the floor. Defeated, he staggered back, clutching his wounded arm. Rancher seized him by the collar, slamming him against the bar. The hotel erupted in cheers as the outlaw's men were dragged outside in chains. Breathing heavy, Rancher holstered his gun, dusted off his coat, and calmly sat back at his table. The waitress, wide-eyed, set down a fresh bowl of stew. Rancher picked up his spoon, looked around the ruined hotel, and muttered with a faint grin, "Reckon I can eat in peace now." The crowd laughed and clapped, the piano resumed, and life returned to the Silver Star Hotel, though no one there would ever forget the night Rancher stood his ground.